Hey everyone, Kieren Clark here from Kokoro Performance. Welcome to another Passing On Passion podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the 2020 season as a whole from the Kokoro Performance gang and what we're looking forward to 2021. I've got Scott Malvern here with me today, giving us his insights on what we've been doing and how we've been focusing towards 2021. 2020, what an absolute crap year for most people in motorsport, well, around the world, but motorsport for us especially. Yeah. What's your take on our 2020?
A tough year, really, for everyone. Not really what anyone expected, obviously, at the start.
I think 2020 is one of those years it was one of those years where you just had to get on with it. Whatever the situation was, you had to find a new way. Like for us, for instance, we found new ways of working with our clients remotely because we weren't allowed to see each other. So we found new methods of training and keeping track of what the clients are doing. I think the biggest thing I think affected in the sport was the sponsorship and financial side.
Yeah, the investment was. It was tough, wasn't it? Because investment wasn't there. People weren't putting their money into anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone was trying to rein in.
And not only that, all of a sudden the season went from being spread over kind of 7 to 8 months to all of a sudden being like 4 months, which cash flow.
4 months at the end of the year. And then a short break potentially and start again.
Exactly, straight into testing. Yeah, no, exactly. So for us then, what would you say Kokoro's biggest highlight was?
The highlight, I think, really how we still hit the ground running. Even after the long break, everyone was sat at home. We found ways to keep our guys active and keep our guys sharp. Yeah. So that when the day did come, we were ready.
Well, I think the best thing that we did for our clients was the Kokoro Sim series that we created, because it created a really competitive environment against some serious competition. I mean, we had Frederick Vesti in there, Richard Verschaw, some serious competition who have gone on to do some really good things last year and moving on, like F2, I think they're doing this year, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, so big competition for our clients, but not just for our clients as well, but for junior single-seater drivers and junior drivers in general. It gave them some direction in the time when
there was nothing else going on.
Really. How do you plan for something you don't know what the end result is going to be yet?
Yeah, so exactly.
To keep, I think from our side, to keep those guys in, not just, there was plenty of competitions around at the time, but I think to keep them in some kind of high level competition where there was something at stake was important for all of them.
So I think we ticked a lot of boxes in 2020 to help our clients and to help other people as well with the Kokoro series. What do you think we missed? What could we have done better?
Hindsight's great, isn't it?
It is, but we've got to learn from it, and essentially that's what we do as a company, isn't it? So,
obviously, I feel like we obviously should have planned a little bit more for when it restarted. It's great to say that now, but we didn't know.
Well, we didn't know when it was going to start.
Exactly.
For a start.
So that's kind of crystal ball, maybe.
Yeah.
But I feel like we covered what we needed to.
Yeah.
As a I don't want to blow our own trumpet, but I think we did a pretty good job.
Well, no one else is going to do it for us.
No.
So.
Well, exactly.
I think the biggest thing for me during that lockdown was the communication side. Yeah. And although we've all got this modern technology now where we can text and we can video call and stuff, which we did utilize, we use Teams and we use Zoom and stuff like that. But I think using our portal, which we have, which is great on track, we actually started to recognize the weaker areas off track. So, we've now been able to develop that portal. So we've got the communication off track. So the drivers are constantly tracking what they're doing and we're able to see it remotely. So even now in moving into 2021, it's still pretty poor, with the lockdown. Everyone thought this was I think everyone was hoping that this season would be a normal season, and it's turned out to
be another one of the same.
Exactly. Exactly. They're pushing it later and later. We're starting. So, when did we end up starting in the end? Was it June, July?
It's June.
Last year? June, yeah. And it's moving that way now. We're now talking about starting in May.
Yeah, and all of this all the preparation is just getting. The preparation we're doing has been for this year has been. We're planning as if we were going to start in March or April.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's ramping all the time, and we're now at the prospect of having to think of ways to either extend that to keep that momentum going, or and try not to allow that to stall.
Yeah,
we need to keep it going.
It comes down to budget again. It's all very well saying, well, we set our plan up from January to March for our preparation and testing so that we start racing in April. But now we're starting back end of May, starting June, and we haven't got the budget to go testing. And not many people do, to just keep throwing 100 grand to do more testing.
No.
So we've got to push the boundaries on the development side. I think the structure we have with the portal is really good, and I think that's much better with communication and keeping the drivers in contact with us as much as we can get them. I think it's just we're in for another tough year, sadly.
Yeah, but I think obviously having seen what we saw last year, we're much better prepared to know what we need to do, and to keep the ball rolling, and to keep our guys sharp.
Yeah, no, exactly. All right, Scott. 2020 highlights. Now, I know you said at the beginning we didn't win.
No,
and I am just as bitter as the next person, but equally,
we didn't win. We didn't win a championship.
No,
but we did win a lot of races.
We did have a lot of wins. Generally, across the board, we had a lot of wins. And I'd also like to point out that while we didn't win championships, we did win races, and development was still very, very good for our drivers, considering the situation. I'm not tooting our own horn. I'm just saying that it wasn't a bad year for us.
It was a good year. So obviously for Zach, coming into the championship as a single-seater rookie, essentially, going up against a driver with quite a lot more experience especially in that category. He produced the goods straight away. Took the lead of the championship early on, won races back to back. But for me, really, the biggest win out of this year was for him was his determination from the midpoint onwards. He lost the lead of the championship through no fault of his own. And had a big gap to the leader and dug in and clawed his way back with races to spare.
Yeah, I mean the deficit was huge, wasn't it? Big, I mean, halfway point of the season, we were sitting there. I think it was Thruxton.
People were saying it was over. It's done deal. All he's got to do is cruise to the end, and to be back in contention, solidly in contention before the last round was, I think, a real credit to him. And the work he put in last year.
For Zach, for me, the fact that he mentally at 15 years old, because I think that's the thing we need to remember. His opponent was 19, competition was 19 years old, and he is 15 years old. The mental strength that he brought to the table.
Well, I think it was important as well to remember that his opponent had done more years in that category than Zach has raced in a car.
That's also a good point.
So
to finish second still isn't a bad. We're all here to win.
It was bitterly disappointing, obviously, but in some ways, it's going to make him stronger as a driver, and mentally it's going to make him.
And
stronger.
I think we're already seeing that in the start.
Absolutely, his determination now straight away.
But we also had a new signing of Dougie Bolger, Japanese driver, Domo, racing F4 next year, which we're this year. Sorry, we're in 2021 now. Yeah. But looking forward to that. Obviously, you had quite an extensive testing program to get him up to speed, but.
Yeah, it was exciting. So absolutely. So he did quite a lot of testing early doors. We were lucky to be able to do that. Given the circumstances, we were able to get him out and do a lot of track running and get a lot of stuff under his belt. And we're still working, obviously, really hard now. But it's been a successful program for him. Coming through all of our in-house programs with the sim, learning how to use the portal correctly, his training programs, and obviously on-track stuff as well, working with all of the coaches here.
Because I think that's one of the important things that we like to focus on, isn't it? This variety. You've got each coach brings their own individual strength.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that brings it to the.
Who wants to spend every single day with Dougie? I mean,
and equally, who wants to spend every day with you? So I can fully understand it.
Yeah, not you.
It makes sense. Definitely not. Definitely not. But I think Dougie's going to be strong this year as a rookie coming into
absolutely.
it. But I think something that I don't think many people are aware about Dougie is that he came over from Japan on his own. Literally, just flew over. He literally, during lockdown, there was no school, so he had nowhere to stay. Yeah. He moved in round the corner from me, from where our headquarters are, and literally just plonked himself in the sim, and every day, work, asking more. What can I do more? What can I do more? Sometimes he wants it a bit too much, but I think the work ethic from that side
is very good. Yeah. And we're seeing it already. We're seeing it in the testing. The results have been strong in testing already. Yeah. I want to say he's like the underdog.
Yeah,
for absolutely. This year. He's got really no experience in car racing, and he's just jumping straight into F4. Obviously, we know he's got some solid foundations there. So we're expecting big things. But so far he's impressing.
Yeah, and I think for me the final big standout for 2020 is Dion, because he's still learning a lot, and not he's only just turned 13, so he's still got a lot to learn within himself, about himself, but also about the sport.
I feel like the biggest thing we've, like, obviously besides the results from Dion, obviously qualifying front row of the world champs, like I mean, who would have said that a year ago?
Yeah, exactly.
What an achievement. But I feel like the biggest revelation from Dion is just his personality.
Yeah.
His presence.
Yeah.
Has just become this,
As our listeners and viewers will find out as we go through this series of podcasts, because he's going to come on and have a chat with us at some point. I think
he's going to be annoyingly good at this. He's going to be really good at it. So we'll look forward to watching it.
Looking forward, 2021. Yeah. We touched base on Dougie. We think Dougie's going to be a strong contender in F4 at the end of the day. If we're not going into a championship with a hope of being at the sharp end, I will be disappointed. Dougie has worked very, very hard, as we mentioned already. Looks strong, looks good in testing. We're still working out some kinks, though, aren't we? We look fast on some parts of the track. We've had a couple of bogey corners, like turn 1 at Brands Hatch. My days, mate. Come on, we're like 2 tenths off, but you're like 3 tenths quicker anywhere else. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the stumbling blocks of anybody, isn't it? At the end of the day, when they're starting out, there's always going to be things that they're good at and things that they're not so good at, and it takes longer to get a hold of.
Zach, we've mentioned already. Zach's looking strong. British F3. I think he'll have our focus will be winning the championship. Although we don't focus on results, our expectation really is to go and win.
He's come off the back of a strong year in 2020. So 2021.
BRD absolutely. Superstar now as well.
Superstar. Yeah. Everything's starting to come together. Yeah. The momentum's building behind him. So absolutely. That's the expectation. That's the end goal.
Yeah.
And our expectation, obviously, but everything we're like we say, we're not focusing on that. That's the end result will sort itself out if we do all the right things.
If we do all the right things and have the right processes.
Exactly.
And we're talking about Kiffen on the other side of the world. He's doing Formula. He's got a big program this year. Formula Regional in America. He's got Indy Pro alongside his other testing plans, which we can't announce yet, but is going to be big for next year.
Yeah, he's got so much going on.
So much. Big year for him.
It's a big jump as well for him. So there's a lot. He's going to go from F4, and essentially jumping into some big machinery here, and some fast stuff, and also some new tracks, which are tricky, like the US tracks, ovals. He's going to be jumping on those, so he's got a really big year ahead of him. He has,
and I think for us, this portal is going to be absolutely crucial.
Obviously, remote stuff is crucial. And we can already see some trends at the start of this year in testing. and we can help him with those. We can understand it a bit better and help him move forward, help him develop in the places he needs. That's going to be vital.
Dion, OKJ, doing CIK, FI, he's doing absolutely everything every weekend. What isn't Dion racing? Exactly. Karting is big for him this year. Big year. This is big year. Potentially his last year, maybe in karts. We'll see how his year develops. But I think we should be looking quite strong with him. Development over the winter's been fantastic. We're still working on routines, and
it's tough for anyone of his age, isn't it, to be in a solid routine and disciplined routine. It's
difficult. That's the key word, isn't it? It's the discipline that we put on our drivers and the expectation we put on our drivers. Not so much about the results, but more the discipline to achieve those results. Exactly. Just do more. Max Meyer out in Spain.
Yeah.
He's obviously now, I believe, I might be wrong, but I think he's now just got a funding scholarship from the Valencia region to support him financially. So hopefully that'll help him with his step up to cars the following year. So
so he's doing lots of stuff, obviously remote sim, big program there, working on his development of his racecraft and his understanding of his influence in the race.
And the mental approach is massive. That's such a big part in that racing situation, isn't it? You're for me, I think you're one of the coolest characters when it comes to the old racing bit. Just cool as a cucumber when you're in an intense battle. I think that's where you actually come into your own. So it's nice that you've been able to work on,
it's been good.
That with Max.
It's been good. Yeah. So obviously working with Max and Kiffen on that as well. Yeah. In that respect, because it's something that when you're a younger driver, it's a flap, isn't it?
Yeah.
In that situation, there's carts everywhere. There's people doing things unpredictable. And it's you got to understand your place in the race and understand what your influence is.
And we think we're moving forward on that. Absolutely, we're in the right place.
With Max, he's moving forward, and Kiff starting to see where he is as well. So I'm happy with where they're heading.
Onto our two GT4 Club Sport drivers. We've got Kurt, who has done zero. Ground zero. Literally started testing 3 days ago.
Yeah.
First test in Pembury, and then we threw him in the deep end at Alton Park. Yeah. I think he did all right.
I think he was fine, yeah.
I think he learnt quickly. And I think he's adapted to how we approach things pretty quick. He's pretty committed.
The will is there, isn't it? His passion is cars, and you can't fault him for that. He's definitely passionate about it. So he's gonna put 110% in all the time, and he's gonna be pushing.
I think we need to just he wants it. That's definitely clear. I think what we need to do is just maintain expectations. We're starting from ground zero. He's up against our other Porsche driver, who I'll mention in a second, who is if he at the front. We want to get there, obviously, but we have to go through some processes. We have to jump some hurdles, and I think expectation on that is clear, and being clear and open about the approach. I think so many people in the sport are afraid of telling a driver that actually right now you're not good enough. Yeah, and we need to work a bit harder, which is fine.
Absolutely,
but I think people are a little bit scared to do that.
Yeah, they are, and there's no shame attached to it. Why everyone wants to do well.
Yeah.
But part of doing well is you need to know how you're going to improve.
Exactly.
So if you're being told, you could win. You can win tomorrow, but then when you don't, then what?
Exactly. So it brings us on to our front-running driver, Matt Armstrong, who I think for me is one of the biggest surprises jumping from karts to cars.
Yeah.
I think he just looks fast.
It's annoying, isn't it? Because he's going to listen to this, and we're going to tell him, we're going to say how great he's done, and he's just going to dine out on it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So
he'll be literally playing it for us in the paddock.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like, isn't this what you said about me? Isn't this what you said?
Yeah. Irritating.
Yeah. But so maybe we'll retract
annoyingly
this
fast. Annoyingly fast. But no, he's just adapted so well to car racing from karting. He's taken everything in his stride, and he's just absorbing. He's like a sponge at the moment. He's just absorbing everything and putting it into practice.
And let's not ignore the fact as well that and this is no disrespect to him, but what he's done in karting, he's done nothing, no results. Do you know what I mean? He's like,
no, it's not. Yeah, not to be disrespectful.
We're not
at all.
Not British champion. We're not world champion. Not European champion. No. Yeah, he's come from the kart, applied what he learned in karting, along with what we've given him in terms of a structure, and all of a sudden, boom,
hit the ground running.
So I think that's something that our listeners and viewers out there can be kind of taking note of, that it's not all about winning in the go-karting scene. So moving on to wrap this up, for 2021, what key piece of advice would you give the young listeners out there, or even the parents who aren't sure what they should be focusing on? What's the key piece of advice for 2021 from Scott Malvern?
I think really the key is just you've got to stay focused. You've got to stay focused on what your goal is. 2021 is going to be the same as 2020. You know, there's going to be unpredictability. There's going to be things happening that you can't foresee. So you've got to stay focused on what your goal is. You've got to stay focused on your key areas that you want to nail down. And I think having the structure, like you say, having the right people around you, having the structure is the key to unlocking that.
I think it's also important to remember that it's not about, yes, everyone's there to win. So it's not about, this year I need to win. That shouldn't be a goal, because that's everyone's goal. That's everyone's silent goal that everyone's working towards.
Well, if it's not, then what are you doing?
Driving around. Yeah. Exactly. Go and play tiddlywink somewhere in the park.
Still want to win though.
Well, I think that wraps up our 2020 to 2021 plans and what we're looking forward to. I'd like to thank the listeners out there, and thank Scott for coming in and having a chat with us. If anyone's out there that's unsure of what you should be doing, or really you just want to kind of hang out with us on the sim, or get engaged with our social media platforms, then feel free to get in contact with us. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And thanks very much for coming in, Scott. Appreciate it. Cheers.